signs into law his ginormous tax cut. And everyone is very excited. So the president signs that into law just before Christmas, and then he says that he's going to have a working vacation. I hope not. I hope the president just takes the time off, lets the media fester. He doesn't need to provide them content. Let them chew on all of the good things that are happening because of this tax cut. So here is an additional list. We gave you a list yesterday of corporations that are now giving bonuses and raises to people and hiring more people because of the tax cut that just passed the Senate and the House and was signed into law by the president. In Texas, New Braunfels-based Rush Enterprises is planning to give each of its employees a $1,000 bonus after President Trump signs the tax reform bill into law. The commercial truck dealer said all of its approximately 6,600 U.S. employees will receive the one-time payout, which will cost about $6.6 million. In Wisconsin, Associated Bank said it would boost its minimum hourly wage to $15 and pay workers a $500 bonus. Their current minimum wage is $10 an hour, so that's a 50% increase. The company said that its moves would affect about 3,000 employees. In Idaho, Melaleuca Inc., which is run by Frank Vandersloot's a Republican, he said in a phone interview that his 2,000 workers would get a one-time bonus of $100 for every year they've worked at the company. They have about 150 employees who have worked there for 20 years or more. The average employee will get about an $800 bonus. In Hawaii, the Royal Hawaiian Heritage Jewelry, that they've decided to open a second shop. And this is going to happen all over the place. Right? This is going to happen as businesses decide they have more money to spend, then hiring should go up, investment should go up. Even if there are stock buybacks, maybe just your stocks go up. But it's good for the economy when people get to keep their own dollars. Why? Because they get to spend those dollars or they invest those dollars, and you know what you want to buy better than the federal government knows what you want to buy. Now, the left has lost their mind over the tax cut, obviously. They just can't deal with it. And it's really interesting because it sort of betrays what they actually think of America and what they think of your capacity to keep your own money. So Elizabeth Warren, for example, she has an interesting take. Her basic notion here is the reason corporations are now giving bonuses and raises is because they're trying to propagandize to their workers, not because they actually like their workers or help their workers. They have nefarious motives. All of the corporations are essentially evil. In the end, they'll just use that money to line their own pockets and give themselves big bonuses. That's what they'll do. They're cruel and plutocratic. Here's Elizabeth Warren sending a few smoke signals of her own.
I want to be absolutely clear. I am delighted when workers get more money. I'm glad when it happens at any corporation in America. Yay. But let's be really clear. If these corporations had wanted to do that, they already had plenty of profits to do it. The idea that this is trickle-down economics at work rather than just plain old politics is just wrong. The corporate CEOs have already told us what they're going to do with this money. I'll give you an example. Home Depot, right after the Senate passed the tax bill a couple of weeks ago, Home Depot CEO executive is interviewed and said, so what are you going to do with all of this money that Home Depot has? Because they're going to do really well on this. Was it we're going to raise wages for our employees? No. Was it we're going to hire more employees at the Home Depot stores? No. Was it we're going to build more Home Depots across America? No. They said what we're going to do is we're going to do stock buybacks. In other words, we're going to use whatever money comes in to pump up the price of our stock.
Okay, so what's hilarious about this is, number one, the Democrats were claiming for years that the stock market growth of the Obama administration was clearly a reflection of his underlying solid economy. Except the job growth didn't keep up because the stocks were actually stock buybacks, right? Now she's ripping stock buybacks. Stock buybacks are terrible. But the idea here is that corporations are nefarious. They're profit-seeking. Isn't that awful? Now, it's hilarious that the same folks who think that corporations are profit-seeking and evil. Number one, I don't know if they've ever met anyone who runs a corporation, okay? I help run a corporation, right? I, along with my executive team, the people I work with, the president of the company and the CEO of the company, we run the company together. We actually do care about our employees. Now, if you went to our Christmas party yesterday, the only employee who got a bad gift at our Christmas party was Michael Knowles because he's a bad employee. Right? He got coal that I gave him for Christmas. But aside from that, it was in a Tiffany's box, so I guess it was nice a little bit. And one day, if Michael really puts himself under pressure, that coal will become a diamond. It was actually it was me exhorting him to work. But everybody at the company is relatively happy because we are interested in keeping them employed. And if they are good at their jobs, we give them raises. And if they are good at their jobs, we retain them. And if they're bad at their jobs, we fire them. People don't want to fire people, okay? They actually don't. People are not generally in the business of enjoying firing people. And corporations actually do care about their workers, which is why wages have risen in the United States in terms of what you can buy. They've risen in the United States continuously, despite the death of private sector unions. Private sector unions represent something like 3% of the workforce now. They barely exist. All of the unions exist in the public sector, where they're unionizing against the government. But in the private sector, people have decided that they're going to have better luck, instead of unionizing, just going and talking to their employer about a raise, which is correct. But the idea from the left is precisely the reverse. Corporations are cruel. They hate you. They want to harm you. They want to use you as slave labor. But the government is benevolent. So it's benevolent when the government comes to me and takes a gun out and points it at me and says, give me your money. That's benevolent. But and if the government gives me my own money back, then that's bad. That's bad because, that's redistributing the wealth. But if a corporation is working and giving bonuses and keeping people employed, then somehow they're cruel. Now, here's the thing. I think most people are motivated by self-interest. The difference is that in a capitalist economy, my self-interest does not manifest as anything good for me unless I give something to you. Capitalism turns self-interest into what I've called forced altruism. The point being that I can be as selfish as I want, but if I don't produce a good or service that you like, I'm going to starve. Okay, that's the beauty of the capitalist free market system. Government has no such qualms. Government has no such issues. If government wants to survive, government can't go bankrupt. It will just bankrupt you. It will take all your money, all your children's money. If we're going to talk about caring levels versus corporations versus government, corporations care a hell of a lot more about making sure that you are employed as long as you are doing work for them than the government cares. The government doesn't care at all. The government will just tax the hell out of you if you earn, and they'll give you money if you don't, because the government is interested in your dependency or in sucking money out of your pocket. Those are the only two things the government is interested in on a fiscal level. Either taking your money or turning you into a dependent. Those are the only two things. Government is not interested in boosting you or giving you a hand up. The Democrats will say, we just want to give you a hand out because it's a hand up. And then they promote policies that make sure that people stay in poverty. They pay people to stay off the work lines, right? They want welfare increased so that people don't have to work jobs. This is why you have Nancy Pelosi saying things like, we want to make sure that you are not burdened by job lock. Like that you're not locked into a job you don't want to do. Okay, that fundamental difference between how you view private industry and how you view government undergirds this entire thing. And in a second, I do want to discuss what happened at the UN, because that was a major development.
Welcome back. One final point before we go tonight. The Republican tax reform plan is the worst bill in the history of the United States Congress. Republicans hate women. Republicans hate poor people. If Republicans pass this tax reform plan, people will die. Women will die. Children will die. Babies with heart defects will die. That is what Democrats would have you believe. Everybody will die, they say. But there's something familiar about this hysterical talking point. So let's take a quick journey back. Everybody will die. That's what the Democrats told us after President Trump pulled us out of the Paris Climate Accords. You will die, the planet will die, they said. But we didn't die. Repealing net neutrality. People will die, Democrats said. The internet as we know it will die. Internet will cost $1 million and therefore life on our planet will die. But we didn't die. Women will die. That's what Democrats told us after President Trump rolled back the Obamacare contraceptive mandate. But we didn't die then either. Judge Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, freedom will die, Democrats warned. But freedom didn't die. If we don't ban guns, people will die, Democrats told us. But we upheld our Second Amendment rights, our right to keep and bear arms, and we didn't die. Now Democrats are peddling fear and telling people if Republicans pass tax reform, people will die. Why should we believe them? Nobody's going to die here, but our taxes will go down and government won't hold so much power over our heads. And that scares the Democrats because that means their power grip on the American people, yes, that might die. And Democrats would rather you live in fear of dying than notice what's actually happened in the past 11 months of Trump's presidency. This is what's happened. Justice Neil Gorsuch seated on the Supreme Court. Over a dozen other federal judges confirmed. Regulations slashed so small businesses can thrive. ISIS beat back and their geographical caliphate destroyed. The Iran deal decertified. The Paris Climate Accords were out. Jerusalem recognized as the capital of Israel. Unemployment at a 17-year low. GDP on the rise at 3%. Stock market crazy high. Exactly what the American people want. So next up, lower taxes for just about everyone. And no, nobody is going to die. And that's my final point. You can reach me on Twitter at Liz_Wheeler. If you liked the show, please send me an email at oann.com/contact. In the meantime, catch us here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. And until
we will make America great again.